Hi, welcome back. Just a quick recap. In the last video we showed you how to sharpen a chisel. This time I'm going to show you how to sharpen a plain blade. Not very much difference really, but there are a few things that you need to change. Here's our plane, and what we're going to do is we're going to remove the cap iron and the blade assembly. We'll put the plane out of the way. That leaves us with the chip breaker, which is on the outside, which is the curved piece, and the blade. Right, so we're removing the blade, and what we're going to do is slide the cap iron back, rotate it to the side and lift it off. Don't be tempted to drag it across the edge of the blade because you will damage the edge, so always start by turning it on, extending it and bringing the cap iron up to the back of the blade within about a 32nd of an inch. We'll slide that back off there. I'll start with the cap iron. A lot of people don't do this. With this edge, what you'll find on the breaker is sometimes it's slightly out. What I tend to do is just put a little sharp across that. And what that tends to do, by putting the edge, bringing the back down and putting the edge on the front, what that tends to do is stops chips sliding underneath it and clogging your plane. Give that a little sharpen across there. Not sharp, but just polish it. Just find like a smart edge all the way along, and the easiest way again to do that is what we did before. We'll put a black marker across it if we can, and then we'll be able to see where we'll remove the edge. So with a couple of strokes, as you can see, that's still a little bit requiring some there and there. So again, just push a little bit harder on the stone. We'll just take those edges off. There you go, nice and shiny all the way across. We'll give that a quick draw on the strop, because we don't want a sharp edge on there. All we want to do is just take the curls off of it like that, and that's your chip breaker sorted. We've dealt with the chip breaker. Now we're going to deal with the blade. What we're going to do is set this up in the honing guide again as before, this time into the top of the honing guide. Okay, so we're going to set up for our 25-degree cut, which is our first cut on the blade. So we're up to there on the gauge. We're just going to get the screwdriver and nip that into place. Don't over tighten it, because you'll find that it will curl your blade. It will actually make your blade curl. When you tighten that down, just nip it down and just slightly, a little teeny bit more, and that will be enough. Now you're going to set that on the stone, and because it is just about the width of the stone, you don't want to be missing the edges, so what we're going to do is probably just work it just slightly across the stone like that. Okay? So one way, one the other. And it's a good idea at some point while you're sharpening to work your stone evenly, turn your stone around with chisels or with your plain blade, and that will stop you wearing a hollow or wearing one end of the stone. That is your 25-degree cut on your blade, so that's your first cut. Now we're going to do the same again as we did with the chisels. We're going to take the back off, and we're going to level the back of the blade. So we're going to bring that down flat onto the stone, and again we're going to work the blade until we get that flat polished edge. Retain that polished edge on the back. You only need that top half an inch or so. You'll start to see where it's coming up there. You've got a hollow in there because it's not touched it, and again there's a hollow there, so we'll just work that just a little bit more, give us a little bit more of an edge. And we're applying pressure evenly across the tip of the blade. If you can see where my fingers are, we're keeping that nice and even so that every part of that blade is in contact with the stone. And now you can see we're starting to pick up a shiny surface there and a very small hollow in here. We will remove a little bit more and apply slightly more pressure to the right hand side of the blade there. but keeping the whole of the blade in contact with the stone. Now the stone's starting to dry out, so what we're going to do, we're just going to give it a little refresh. Just to drop a WD-40, there's enough oil on there, and that will help clean that. There we go, back in action. Just for the purposes of the video, I think that will do. Really, it'd be nice to go at the top half of an inch. Would be nice to have that completely smooth, shiny, polished surface. That would be perfect, because as you will probably see across the top here, we've got a very dull spot. The ideal way is to polish it enough that we can remove that, but like I say, as long as we've got probably 5mm right across the top of the blade, that's enough to get us going for the time being. So now the gauge is set up for 30 degrees, which is our cutting edge. That will give us a primary cut, which will be a straight cut across. With planes, there's various types of plane sharpening. A hogging plane, which gives you a primary cut, which is for very rough work, would have a very, very slight curve in it of about 32nd of an inch, which is a radius across the back, which will be 32nd of an inch. And to do that, you need to roll that across your stone. That will take off a hell of a lot of material in one go, and I can show you a blade which is set for that. As you can see, this blade is a hogging blade, and it's got a very, very heavy curve. Now I've over curved this one, so that is a bit exaggerated. It wouldn't be quite as curved as that. A slight curve will give you a hogging blade that will take off plenty of rough material. So the second cut on the blade is by curving just the corners, just a very slight amount, just the two corners. That will allow you to use it as a finishing blade, so that when you're actually planing, these corners will not dig in to what you're planing, so you can just nip those corners off. I'll show you how to do that. Alternatively, you can get just a dead straight cut across your blade, and that works just as well. That's, I would say, an intermediate cut, so I would go for a hogging cut, then the straight cut, and then when you're finishing, just use your blade that's just got a little teeny curls in the corner. If you're using the plane just one purpose, I would say just very carefully just take the corners off, just very slightly, and that's all you need to do, and that will work pretty much right the way across the board for most of the jobs you'll be doing. If you can find a plane that is not as good as any others, you can set that up as a hogging plane. Some of the newer planes, cheaper planes, have got a wider mouth on them, which is that section across there. It will be a lot wider, and that's ideal for a hogging plane. If you are using a finishing plane, which has got the corners cut, or the straight blade, whichever way you prefer to do it, you want to have the mouth of the plane set slightly closer, and you find that the Stanley or record planes are better for that. Okay, so now we're going to put that 30-degree cut on, and we are going to just literally set that up again and work it across the stone. And there you go, we've got the start of our edge. So we just work that again, as I said to you before, until you can feel across the back a very, very slight curl, which I'm just beginning to feel there, which means that we've pretty much got all of our edge. We've sharpened all of our edge. So we'll do a little more, keeping it nice and even, keeping all the blade in contact, like that. We've got a curl right the way across the back. Now, as I said to you, if you're going to take the corners off, you literally need to tip the blade on this corner we're going to do first. As you can see, that is sitting level across the stone. What we're going to do to achieve these two little curls on the corner, just to lift them up slightly, is just tip the blade slightly that way. And then we're going to count how many cuts we put on that. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to repeat that on the opposite side. We're doing the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we should still feel the curl across the back at both sides, which we do. If I wipe that, you'll just be able to see, probably very slightly be able to see just a little teeny curvature in there on those two corners. And all we're going to do again is on the back, holding it nice and flat, draw that down. Now what I would suggest you do as well, just very slightly to put just a back cut on it, just by literally lifting it no more than about 1/4 of a millimetre or less than a 32nd of an inch, and just lift it slightly, and 1, 2, 3, and that's your back cut on your blade. That is nice and sharp already. So we will now remove that from the honing gauge. Okay, and we're going to now apply the stropping compound again to the leather strop, and we're going to just take the back off of the blade, so at 20 or so times down the leather strop, and again at 20 or so times down the front of the blade on the strop. You can see that's polished the edge, just taking the curl off of it nicely. So there. Again, same rule applies. If you haven't got a strop, literally just on the edge, you just give it a stroke across there. That will take any curl off. And that is sharp. And again, there you go. Setting up a cap iron on the back of the blade, you don't want to damage the blade that you've just sharpened. As I said to you before, set that across, as you can see there, slide it down, bring your chip breaker onto the back of your blade and slide it up. And you want to be about a 32nd of an inch behind, grip it nice and tight, tighten up the chip breaker, and just give it a little nip, and as you can see, that's all nicely set. Okay, that concludes sharpening of our plain blade. Just very basics. It wasn't anything too elaborate. If you need to ask any questions, drop us a comment down below, and don't forget, if you've enjoyed what you see and you want to come and see some more with us, just like and subscribe.